This is the newsroom for Monday, April 19, 2021. Rebroadcasting to you on E1, Scar TV, NTN, and Tarzi TV in Bartica. In the headlines, another 83,000 doses of Russia's Sputnik V arrives in Guyana. Water tanks and water for Barbados as Guyana preps third ship of relief supplies for St. Vincent. DJ accused of attacking another DJ with a broken bottle gets bail. We tell you about the company trying to get utility companies to use concrete instead of wood. And in sport, winless Guyana booted from Basketball World Cup pre-qualifiers, and new tennis president Christy Campbell aims to decentralize the sport. With the news, I'm Kurt Campbell. We're glad you can join us. First up, Guyana on Monday received 83,000 doses of the Sputnik V vaccine from Russia. Guyana previously received 55,000 doses. In total, Guyana has ordered 400,000 doses of the Sputnik V, split up in two components of 200,000 each. It will ensure that a total of 200,000 Guyanese are fully immunized with both doses. Of the vaccines received today, it means that Guyana has now received 98,000 doses of Component 1 and 40,000 of Component 2. The last batch of vaccines arrived just after 9 hours Monday a.m. at the Cheddi Jagan International Airport. The 40,000 doses of Component 2 of the vaccine will be on standby for persons who have already received the first dose and will require the second jab of the vaccine soon. The government will be spending US $20 in each dose of the Sputnik V vaccine. This means that a total of US $8 million will be spent for the 400,000 doses of the vaccine that Guyana is buying. The country has already received 20,000 doses of the Sinopharm vaccine as a donation from China and 80,000 doses of the Oxford's AstraZeneca as a donation from India. Guyana later received 24,000 doses of the COVID-19 vaccine through the COVAX facility. Last Friday, the government announced that all persons above 18 can now receive the vaccine. Initially, frontline health workers and persons over 40 were given priority. Meanwhile, with Guyanese 18 years or older becoming eligible to receive their COVID-19 vaccine from Friday last, Health Minister Dr. Frank Anthony on Monday reported that it was a good weekend for the country's vaccination campaign.
So as of yesterday, we had approximately 86,601 person who was vaccinated across Guyana. We had a good weekend, I would say, because we had a number of outreach teams in all the regions working to get vaccines out to the various communities. And I think the response has been very good throughout Guyana.
Guyana is preparing to send a third shipment of disaster relief items to volcano-ravaged St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The ship that was being loaded on Monday and is expected to set sail soon. It will include items for Barbados, which was also affected by the periodic volcanic eruptions over the last week. 2 days after the first shipment of 350 tons of disaster relief items arrived in St. Vincent and the Grenadines from Guyana, another shipment is on its way, and Guyana is preparing to set sail yet another vessel with 275 tons of relief supplies. In a telephone interview with the Newsroom on Monday, Director General of the Civil Defense Commission, Lieutenant Colonel Kester Craig, said this third shipment will make a stop in Barbados before heading to the volcano-ravaged island of St. Vincent. Craig said Guyana has included in this shipment, in keeping with President Irfan Ali's promise, water tanks and water for Barbados. Already affected by the ash from the volcano, which forced the closure of the airport and blackened parts of the island, Barbados remains cautious that with more eruptions expected. Meanwhile, shortly after the first shipment arrived in St. Vincent on Saturday last, Prime Minister Ralph Gonsalves, referring to biblical teachings, hailed Guyana as the head cornerstone in the Caribbean community CARICOM. PM Gonsalves also thanked President Irfan Ali personally, referring to him as a good Samaritan.
This is a significant shipment. It's about 300 tons.
250 tons.
350 tons. 350 tons. It's a big donation. And there are other donations coming, I've been advised. And I used to always say in the days when things were a little more difficult in Guyana, that Guyana would be the head cornerstone in CARICOM. And it's almost like biblical prophecy being fulfilled. The stone that the builder reject become the head cornerstone. And I'm very happy to see that we have this close bond of friendship. And I thank the government, the people of Guyana from the bottom of my heart.
In an interview with the Newsroom on Friday, Guyana's Consul General in St. Vincent, Nigel Russell, explained that the bulk of the relief items in the first shipment will go to the government of St. Vincent to help them bring relief to persons in shelters across the country, while 2 crates of requested items will go directly to his office to assist persons on the ground. The island, which has experienced several eruptions at the volcano in the last 7 days, is still dealing with the effects of falling ash. The volcano remains active. It began to explosively erupt 2 Fridays ago, and there have been periodic eruptions covering the island with ash, and volcanic flows of molten rock and gas have gushed down the mountainside. When the Newsroom returns, President Ali says the Public Utilities Commission is obliged to ensure customers get efficient service from power, water, and telephone companies. You're watching the Newsroom. Carlisle Watson, popularly known as DJ Raw Gold, was on Monday released on $55,000 bail by Chief Magistrate Anne McLennan for attacking another DJ and assaulting a woman. Watson, who also works as a 36-year-old customs broker of 2nd Street Cummings Lodge, appeared before the magistrate's court and denied the 2 charges. The first charge alleged that on April 10 at Landscape Street, Queenstown, Watson unlawfully and maliciously wounded Marlon Williams, called DJ Yannick. He also denied that on the same day and location he unlawfully wounded Melissa Duke. The Chief Magistrate released Watson on $55,000 bail and adjourned the matter until May 3rd. He was also placed on a bond until the conclusion of the matter. Police in a statement said Williams was stabbed 4 times to the face with a broken Guinness bottle while at HJ 94.1 studio on Landscape Street, Georgetown. According to the police report, Williams said he and Watson got into an argument over work, after which the suspect then armed himself with the Guinness bottle and attacked him. Watson was taken to the Georgetown Public Hospital where he was treated and sent away. During the ordeal, Duke was thrown on the ground by Watson. Meanwhile, the management of HJ 94.1 FM in a statement had said that both individuals were suspended while the matter was under investigation. Workers of the Albion and Blairman sugar estates on Monday morning continued their protest action, expressing dismay regarding the attitude of the Guyana Sugar Corporation Gaisuco concerning protracted wage and salary discussions that go back to 2019. The workers, like their colleagues at Iflat Estate who protested last Friday, are calling on the state-owned sugar company to address the long-outstanding dispute in earnest. The workers are peeved that the Sugar Corporation has remained mum on the matter. They believe that the company is not treating with the issue with the seriousness it deserves. Workers have urged the corporation to return to the negotiating table with a view to having the matters settled. The protest continued despite assurances from Minister of Agriculture Zulfikar Mustafa at the weekend that the government would engage Gaisuco on workers' benefits. Speaking on the sidelines of a community consultation in Mahida, East Berbice Quarantine Region 6, Minister Mustafa said that the government is awaiting a report from Gaisuco's Chief Executive Officer on the stalemate with sugar workers over benefits.
But wages and salaries are a discussion between the corporation and the union. I haven't had a briefing as yet from the CE, hopefully in the new week, and I will see from where they will move from there.
Accordingly, Minister Mustafa said Gaisuco's ability to pay the increases would take into account investments it has made since August to revitalize the estates.
The government hasn't promised any increase, but we will ensure that we work with the corporation to see what we can do for the sugar workers. But we have to also be careful, look at the ability to pay. You have to look at Gaisuco's position right now. And remember, Gaisuco, we have been putting funds in Gaisuco over the last 9 months to develop Gaisuco, recapitalize Gaisuco. As a matter of fact, we are starting to see results already from some of the estate.
The Albion and Blairman estates were lauded for making 3 additional days of pay due to the enhancement of the factories through critical capital works. The workers and the union remain hopeful that the corporation can return to the bargaining table. We tell you now that the Public Utilities Commission is obliged to ensure that citizens benefit from efficient delivery of electricity, telephone and water services, and that consumers are fairly charged, President Irfan Ali suggested on Monday morning. The President swore in Dr. Nanda Gopal as the final member of the Commission. Dr. Gopal joins Chairperson Della Britton and 3 other commissioners Dr. Leland Lucas, Ms. Verlin Klaas, and Mr. Regenja Bisesar at the PUC. The PUC has the power to initiate and conduct investigations into the operations and standards of service of any public utilities under its purview. Currently, it has oversight over the power company GPL, the water company GWI, and the two telephone companies, namely GTT and Digicel. Speaking at the swearing-in ceremony for Dr. Gopal at the Presidential Secretariat in Georgetown, President Ali said that the PUC can determine how effective it has been by examining the work it has done to protect the interests of consumers and ensure such quality that is expected to be given to the consumers are given and that they receive what they pay for.
The regulations of public utilities is vital to protecting the interests of the public. Public utilities provides essential services to citizens and to businesses. Regulations, therefore, is necessary to ensure that neither state control of public utilities nor unchecked market power of public utilities harm the rights of consumers. Unless judiciously regulated, public utilities can use their market dominance to avoid fair pricing and the provision of adequate, reliable, and quality services. In exercise of their duties, regulators of public utilities protect the interests of the public. They are expected to examine the services provided by public utilities, referring the social and economic welfare of consumers and ensuring the provision of quality and efficient services. And I wish to pause here. We can determine how effective we are in the exercise of our duties by examining the quality of service consumers receive today, by examining the work we have done over the last few years to protect the interests of consumers and ensure such quality that is expected to be given to the consumers are given and that they receive what they pay for. We can make that determination ourselves. The Public Utilities Commission is tasked with regulatory, investigatory, enforcement, and other functions conferred upon it by the Public Utilities Commission Act and by other laws, including the Guyana Energy Agency Act, the Electricity Sector Reform Act, and the Telecommunication Act. Again, I pause, and we can examine how effective we are based on how we have performed the task of investigatory powers and the way we have handled the various complaints of consumers, how many cases we have completed. The PUC is tasked with protecting the public interests in the following ways. The Public Utilities Commission Act, which requires the Commission to ensure that every public utility maintain its property and equipment in such condition that enables efforts to ensure and the provision of a service that is adequate, efficient, non-discriminatory, affordable, and safe. Again, I pause. I had cause only 2 days ago to make a comment that GPL did not maintain any of its facility for almost 4 consecutive years. Their lines were not maintained. Their system was not maintained. Today, we have to correct that. But again, I pause to highlight this. Under the Act, the PUC is empowered to institute rules prescribing the quality and standard of service to be provided and maintained by public utility. It possesses the mandate to determine the justness, legality, and reasonableness of the rates the entity charge for its services. The exercise of such powers is to ensure that no public utility provides any service to any person at a rate that is preferential or discriminatory. And in so doing, the Commission is expected to act with due regard to the interests of both the consumer and the investor.
The Minister of Housing and Water, Colin Crowell, has said that his ministry is investigating instances where payments made for house lots on the Essequibo coast were not remitted to the government. It was one of the issues Minister Crowell and a team from his ministry committed to address when the ministry hosted a Dream Realized event at Anna Regina last Friday and Saturday. Both Minister Crowell and Minister within the ministry, Susan Rodriguez, spent the entire 2 days meeting with residents to address their concerns. Some 350 house lots and 100 transports were handed out. Another similar event will be held in Charity later this year.
I must say this has been a very successful 2 days. We were able to satisfy over 300 persons with new allotments. I know a lot of people left here very pleased today. In fact, we have even reserved some lots for persons that are ongoing because there's some issues still to resolve. But what I'm extremely pleased about, there were a lot of long-standing issues in this region that we were able to resolve over the past 2 days. Fortunately, we had the two ministers here today who were able to make decisions to assist a lot of people. So a lot of people who had issues ongoing for over a number of years left here with those issues resolved. Mainly was mixed up with allocations. People one lot being allocated to different persons. We were able to sort those out, give people other allocations to satisfy them. There were issues with titling. People waiting years. One lady actually told me she's waiting 17 years for a title. She was able to get that today. So those are some of the things that we were able to resolve for persons.
It's been a successful activity. I know for Essequibo Coast they have not been hearing much for a while about our plans and programs in terms of land allocation for region number 2. So for over the 2 days, we've seen actually probably about over 1,000 persons who came into the facility for one reason or the other, inclusive of for allocations. We will continue to engage here in Essequibo because, as I mentioned yesterday, we're paying particular attention in terms of the functioning of our regional housing office here. In fact, when I leave now, we're going over to take a look at the facility, that a new building that will be utilized for our housing unit. We've also increased on the staff, improved on the personnel within the department so that we can have a functioning office, because they will have to be, at this first period, they will have to be out there to be conducting a number of investigations for, as I said, a number of issues, and to ensure that pictures are taken, because we want to bring some order back to region number 2. We've had cases of persons who paid in full for their land, but those monies were not remitted to the state, and that is why you had for years these matters held up, and we've taken conscious decision of dealing with them case by case basis. And I'm sure even over the last 2 days and ongoing, persons will be pleased to know that we will be able to rectify, once a thorough investigation is done, to be able to process their titles and transports.
Mika Sunaram Monday once again found himself before the Georgetown Magistrates Court, this time for allegedly swindling $7 million from a man for the purchase of an excavator. Sunaram of Flying Fish Street, North Ramville, Georgetown, appeared before the Chief Magistrate Anne McLennan at the Georgetown Magistrates Court and pleaded not guilty to the charge. Police claim that on November 4, 2020, he was given $7 million by Steve DaCosta to purchase and deliver one excavator, but he converted the money to his own use and benefit. He was represented by attorney-at-law Lakshmi Rahamat, who made an application for bail. The Chief Magistrate released Sunaram on $50,000 bail and adjourned the matter until May 10. Last month, Sunaram was arraigned in court on 3 charges of swindling $8.5 million from a man for the purchase of an excavator machine and the vehicle. He was released on $60,000 bail for those offenses. Also, Sunaram is currently on $300,000 bail on a similar charge, which alleged that he conned $11.4 million from a man and woman. As Guyana celebrates Occupational Health and Safety Month 2021, the Public Service Ministry has moved to set up its own committee to ensure it meets the requirements set out in law.
Occupational Safety and Health Month 2021 is being observed under the theme Investing in OSH Systems, capitalizing on safe and healthy working environments in times of crisis. With this year's celebration comes the formation of the first Occupational Health and Safety Committee within the Public Service Ministry. At the launching ceremony on Friday last, deemed historic by Public Service Minister Sonia Parag, the committee's sole purpose would be to ensure the ministry falls in line with the requisite safety measures as mandated by law.
Because when you think about it, employees or an employee or an employer does not come into a job thinking that I am going to be, or does not want to come into a job thinking that I am going to be unsafe here today. So it is reassuring to know that we have established a committee to ensure the safety of our employees and myself, the employer.
The minister said that occupational health and safety is a multidisciplinary practice addressing all aspects of health and safety in the workplace with a strong focus on preventing workplace hazards. With Guyana on an ever-evolving path and the emergence of the COVID-19 pandemic, she added that the ministry's agenda needed to be developed in keeping with the needs of the public sector.
So we are applying occupational safety and health in all, or across the board, in all ministries and agencies in the public sector. Now, this year, we are faced with an unprecedented challenge, but I will call it more a unique challenge because out of this dreadful, tragic, traumatic pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic, and I don't know how many of us may have experienced or had someone who experienced this, but I call it unique because of the fact that out of all of this negative, we are able to be creative. We are still able to be creative in the way that we operate in the public service. And my staff would know very well that they've had to maneuver in different positions just to keep themselves safe. And I applaud them for that too. That is also recognizing and observing the occupational safety and health rules.
In concluding, the minister implored on public servants to create and sustain a safe and healthy work environment as the pandemic continues. She said that while the committee as an overlooking body has been established, it is pertinent for individuals to take responsibility for their own safety. For the newsroom, I am Shakima Day.
When the newsroom returns, we look at the company trying to get utility companies to use concrete instead of wood. This is the newsroom. Guycrete Inc. is the sole manufacturer of concrete utility poles in Guyana. The company's director, Ryan Rahaman, explained how making the switch to these poles are more aesthetically pleasing for infrastructure, beneficial to the environment, and gives the consumer more value for money.
We have been looking at concrete utility poles now and researching it and developing it over 6 years now. So we've been around, doing our homework, but we've been incorporated now just over 2 years. I would say over the last 4 years, we have been working along with GPL. They've been using our poles for special pilot projects. We've recently done work with the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sport. We've done the Racket Center, where they're doing a massive reconstruction of that facility. So we've used our concrete poles for that venture. And we actually just provided a number of concrete poles for street lighting for the Ministry of Public Works. So it's catching on, the initiative is definitely catching on. And I think the government now is starting to see the need for that change with all the infrastructural development that we have ongoing.
Rahaman took us to Happy Acres on the east coast of Demerara, where some of the poles are located, to give a detailed comparison between his product and the conventional wooden poles.
One of the advantages of going concrete over wallable is obviously the durability, which we spoke about, but it's also direct burial, just like the wallable, so no need to retool. You bury it in the ground just like a wallable post. If there is a soppy soil condition, obviously there might be some sort of casting might have to be done. In terms of aesthetics, it's a lot more aesthetically pleasing than the wallable because of the design of the post and the weight being down at the bottom of the pole. Sometimes there's no even need to bury as deep as a wallable, In terms of climbing, we bring the climbing shoes, a special adapter to put onto your shoe to climb the post. Maintenance. Once you put up a concrete post, there's no coming back to maintain it. as with a wallable, you might get a 5 to 7 year lifespan. So there's a lot more, you'll have to change the pole more often. Once you put up a concrete post, there should be no coming back to change the post. Everything is there, the concrete arms are also there, so everything is in concrete. So no need to, it's a great labor saving. The main advantages, I would say, of concrete poles is the longevity. It could be 50 plus years, while putting up a concrete post as compared to a wallable post, which might give you maybe maximum, I would say 10. Depends on where the pole is located. Obviously, if it's in an interior location, such as I would say on the highway is very susceptible to termites, forest fires. You see a lot of bushfires in those areas. So concrete pole would be an advantage to replacing poles such as an area like that. In terms of galvanized poles, I mean, we've seen some galvanized poles being put down in Guyana for street lighting and so on. But because of our location to the coast and the saltier content, these poles are very susceptible to rust. Well, it's concrete, so obviously it will be more expensive than a wallable. It all depends on obviously the quantity that we will be supplying. We could bring down that cost significantly. But because of the strength of concrete poles, for instance, for instance here GPL or the power industry, because of the strength of the poles, you don't need to put down as much poles, or the poles can be further apart, okay, because of the strength. So in the long term, you use less poles on a stretch than you would use on a wallable because of the strength of the concrete. Just as an example. These poles are very versatile. They're all pre-drilled on all four sides of the post, so you can bolt on cross arms on either side. You can have electricity, telephone, internet, even street lighting on one post. So that makes it very, very versatile. We were in the creeping stage, we're in the walking stage now. We're in a small facility right now, but plans to move to a much bigger facility soon. Once we do that, we can put down our batching plant that we already, have plans to do, and put down more molds, which we already have acquired, just waiting to be put down. Once we can do that, we can manufacture, mass produce even more than we can do now, and also stock the various lengths of poles that we can do.
Guycrete Inc. has planted poles in each of the 3 counties, totaling approximately 150 poles to date. Rahman said they also offer customized poles for housing construction and for farmers, in addition to solid concrete prefabricated posts and panels that are ideal for fencing. Guycrete Inc. is located at Lot 3 Sandy Bab Street, Kitty, Georgetown, and can be contacted on telephone numbers 226-5225 and 600-1767. For the Newsroom, Akim Green.
When the Newsroom returns, the financial weather and bridge reports along with sport. Welcome back to the Newsroom, now for sport. We start things off with some basketball news. After a 4th straight defeat, Team Guyana was eliminated from the FIBA World Cup 2023 America's pre-qualifiers in El Salvador. In their latest contest on Sunday evening, the Guyanese endured another narrow defeat, which ended their dreams of progressing to round 2. Avinash Ramzan reports.
Costa Rica held off Guyana's final quarter push as they entered the 4th, trailing 56-66, and quickly tied it at 66 just after 2 minutes. Costa Rica once again recovered the lead and had the game 77-69 with 4 minutes left on the clock. Guyana challenged with a 3-pointer from Delroy James, which brought them closer at 77-75 with 2 minutes 11 seconds remaining for the end. But in that effort, Guyana ran out of fuel and couldn't score any more. Costa Rica also made 3 consecutive defensive stops to secure the results. Forward Daniel Shedden led Costa Rica with 19 points, including 4 3-pointers, while K. Martinez added 14. James, with 29 points and 12 rebounds, was the most prominent scorer for Guyana, followed by skipper Stanton Rose with 16 and 9 boards. The defeat meant Guyana inevitably ended bottom of the 5-team table, being the only team not to record a victory. Guyana came into the contest looking for a moral-boosting win, having lost the previous 3 games and their chances of advancing to the second round out the window. Instead, they left El Salvador with more questions than answers, having squandered several opportunities when it seemed they were on course for victory. Prior to Sunday's game, Guyana lost 73-84 to Nicaragua, 87-107 to Jamaica, and 19-92 to El Salvador. We tell you now that the newly elected president of the Guyana Lawn Tennis Association, Christy Campbell, wants to develop the sport in areas outside of central Georgetown. Campbell, who was elected on Friday, said this is one of her top priorities. She spoke to Akeem Green moments after taking up the post.
She was elected to the top post on Friday evening at the National Racquet Center, Wolford Avenue, Georgetown. After votes of the Guyana Lawn Tennis Coaches Association were added, Campbell defeated challenger Annabelle Sharma 11-3. The current 5-time female champion said there is major work to be done to take tennis to a higher level. Minister of Culture, Youth and Sport Charles Ramson Jr. had recently stated that tennis is a core sport. It means tennis qualifies for special attention and funding from his ministry to help advance the game in Guyana.
With tennis being categorized now as a core sport, it makes the shoe a lot bigger for us to fill. It means that we have a lot more work to do, and I hope that we can decentralize tennis, introduce it to new areas, because I don't want people to feel tennis is only for central Georgetown and in the other regions, the far-flung regions, they have never heard about tennis. So I'd like to decentralize tennis and disperse it throughout the country, see how best that works.
New president is hopeful that once the COVID-19 situation improves, they can host tournaments.
We're not fully open as yet. However, we're awaiting the guidelines as stipulated by the task force and our medical experts. So until we have that green light, we cannot really preempt what will happen for tennis. But as long as facilities are open and it's safe to play, we are looking at the Inter-Guyana Games, which were scheduled for last year. And of course, we know the pandemic would have cancelled that. And then the GBTI Open, which is our premier slam. So hopefully the pandemic eases a bit and we can hold both of them or one at least by July.
Meanwhile, Nigel Niles got 11 votes to Patrick Mentor's 3 to be named first vice president, and Chereja Kayam was elected second vice president unopposed. Both Patricia Moore and Delon Fraser got 7 votes, but Moore withdrew, which made Fraser the new secretary, and Ramesh Sibaran was elected as treasurer as he got 10 votes, Janice Scrubs 4. The elected committee members are Jamal Goodluck, Kimberly Conway, Renis Jordan, and Marlon Henry. For the newsroom, Akeem Green.
Finance Minister Dr. Ashni Singh at the weekend commended the executives of the Lusignan Golf Club for maintaining such a fantastic facility. He also urged the club to work on expanding its base as he touched on the benefits of playing the game. The minister was a special guest at the Bank of Baroda-sponsored one-day golf tournament at the country's lone golf course at Lusignan and the east coast of Demerara. Sharing remarks at a presentation ceremony, Dr. Singh, while congratulating the outstanding performers, lauded the executives and members of the Lusignan Golf Club for their impressive upkeep of the course and for keeping the sport alive in Guyana.
I'd like also to take the opportunity to congratulate the leadership of the Lusignan Golf Club for continuing to maintain such a fantastic facility in such immaculate condition, and for keeping the sport alive. It's not, golf is not a sport with a mass following in Guyana, but you've obviously done a splendid job keeping the club and its and your course in immaculate condition, for which I congratulate you.
Dr. Singh, who assisted in the presentation of prizes to the top performers, urged the executives to consider ways of further expanding participation in the sport.
If I might, with the greatest of respect, say to you that you probably already have a very strong following amongst young people, but I think there's probably a lot of potential for golf. I think to have greater participation. And I'd like to urge the club to do anything that you possibly can to increase participation in the sport and popularize it even more greatly. It's a fantastic sport. Like Mr. Gupta said, people are able to play in the open, get great exercise, participate in a really great sport, and do so in a COVID-free environment in the current times. But you've also produced some great golfers over the years of this club, and I'd urge you to continue to do your excellent work in perpetuating and further popularizing the sport.
Managing Director of Bank of Baroda, Arun Kumar Gupta, said the bank is always open to supporting the development of golf, and it will continue to do so in the future. Like Dr. Singh, Gupta commended the executives of the club for their promotion of the sport.
It's an immense pleasure for Bank of Baroda to join the Lusignan Golf Club in supporting this event. And going forward also, it would be my pleasure to support the tournaments. Whenever the club requires the bank support, we are always open to sponsor such events in the future. I believe in these COVID times, this golf club is doing a tremendous service because it's so spacious, lush, green, and it provides the opportunity to the players while maintaining social distance and everything, and still they can play safe and stay protected from COVID.
The tournament was won by veteran golfer William Walker. The presentation was also graced with the presence of Indian High Commissioner to Guyana, Dr. K.J. Srinivasa, and UNICEF Deputy Country Representative Irfan Akhtar. President of the Athletics Association of Guyana, Aubrey Hudson, says they are eager for the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sport elite training programs to commence so their top track and field athletes can be exposed to high-level training. Akim Green reports.
Facilities, lack of exposure and finances are often some of the biggest bugbears for national sports associations in Guyana. However, while the Sport Ministry's elite training program will not be a panacea for those issues, it will start developing more professional and high-performing athletes in Guyana. Such benefits have enthused Hudson on a possible partnership with the ministry.
While we've had athletes who receive funding that really and truly disappoint us because they thought that the funding was salary and not basically a stimulus for you to do better. They start collecting the money and just throw back, so to speak. We want athletes to now use that funding whenever it comes to reinvest in themselves, especially in the area of their athletics career. Don't use this money to put up curtains in your house. Don't use this money to repair your backstep. This money is for you to buy supplements, ensure that you get the right vitamins, ensure you pay your physio, ensure you get the right gear for training and that kind of stuff. For that culture to change, we need to demand from the athletes, as you're getting these are our expectations. We would have had to cut quite a few athletes that were getting the GOA supplement subvention because they stopped coming to the track, but then they show up every month to collect the subvention. So we have to guard against that, and we would like to partner with the government again in executing such a program.
Minister Charles Ramson Jr. recently indicated that once the COVID-19 situation improves, they will commence the elite training program.
As we are moving sports forward, I'm intending to, now that we have the allocations for our elite academy, it is the intention for the sports associations in partnership with the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sport that once we come out of COVID, we will be able to have academy programs running for periods of time where out of tournaments, the intention is that the best players will go into a camp where they will be paid a stipend for that period of time, where all they will be doing is playing their respective sports. We'll be going through all of the core sports that we've identified as core sports and building that academy with the respective associations so that we can move the players who have shown themselves to be above average coming out of the tournaments to go into that academy.
The minister previously stated that elite training programs are necessary to push athletes to the next level. Of the $1.5 billion budgeted, To facilitate development programs throughout the country, the sum of $618 million will be utilized to host tournaments, maintain sport facilities, and support select sport associations. Of this amount, $320 million is budgeted towards professional training of athletes and coaches as part of the Sports Academy program. For the newsroom, Akim Green.
Table tennis news now. Guyana's campaign in the Latin American singles and mixed doubles, an Olympic qualifying event, ended on Saturday with Shamar Britton and Chelsea Edgell losing their mixed doubles game against their opponents from Ecuador. Playing in the round of 16 in Rosario, Argentina, Britton and Edgell lost 0-4 to Alberto Mino and Natalie Paredes. Mino and Paredes recorded 11-9, 11-8, 11-7, 11-9 victories. Full details on Guyana's performance can be seen on our website Newsroom.gy. Football news now. Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, Manchester City, Manchester United and Tottenham are among 12 clubs who have agreed to join a new European Super League, the ESL. In a seismic move for European football, the Premier League clubs will join AC Milan, Atletico Madrid, Barcelona, Inter Milan, Juventus and Real Madrid. The ESL said the founding members had agreed to establish a new midweek competition with teams continuing to compete in their respective national leagues. However, the UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson, UEFA and the Premier League condemned the move when the news broke on Sunday. World governing body FIFA had previously said it would not recognize such a competition and any players involved could be denied the chance to play at a World Cup. And Jose Mourinho has been sacked by Tottenham after just 17 months in charge. The Portuguese, who took the job in November 2019, guided the club to 6th in the Premier League last season. They are currently 7th, having picked up 2 points from their past 3 league games and were knocked out of the Europa League in March. The Spurs will face Manchester City in a final on April 25. On Sunday, Tottenham were one of 6 Premier League clubs to announce they were joining a new European Super League, but it is not related to Mourinho's sacking. His last game in charge was a 2-all league draw at Everton on Friday. And finally, Chennai Super Kings moved to number 2 on the points table with a commanding 45-run win over Rajasthan Royals in match 12 of the IPL in Mumbai. Super Kings made 188 for 9, built on Faf du Plessis 33, 27 from Ambati Raidu and 26 from Moeen Ali. Bowling for Rajasthan, Chetan Sekaraya took 3 for 36 and Chris Morris 2 for 33. Moeen Ali then picked up 3 for 7, Sam Curran 2 for 24 and Ravindra Jadeja 2 for 28 as Rajasthan were restricted to 143 for 9. Jos Butler made 49 and Jaidev Unaktat chipped in with 24. IPL action continues on Tuesday with Mumbai Indians playing Delhi Capitals in Chennai from 10 hours. And with that, we've come to the end of the news for this evening. I'm Avinash Ramzan. Thanks for watching.